Jai Gurudev. Divinity manifests in three forms: as the formless Brahman, as the dynamic Purusha, which is represented as the Trinity, Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu, or the creator, sustainer, and the annihilator, or as an avatar, or an enlightened being, or a master. How do you identify, relate, or experience this divinity? So there are three paths. There is a path of action, there is a path of devotion, and there is a path of knowledge. The path of action takes the longest, needs most effort. The path of knowledge is the quickest. The path of devotion is the easiest. So we have discussed the path of action quite elaborately in the first 10 chapters. We look at the other two, the devotion and the knowledge. Knowledge has also been discussed. There is a subtle difference between the approach to these two paths. The path of knowledge needs maturity, discipline, steadfastness, faith. Whereas in the path of devotion, you need humility, ability to let go, to surrender. The path of knowledge is like the attitude of a father. The father who stands to provide for himself and to everybody. Whereas the path of devotion is like that of a child. The child who just accepts its limitation and surrenders to the father, and thus allows to be taken care of. In the scriptures, they give this another example of a monkey and a kitten. When the mother moves around, it does not hold the baby monkey. The baby monkey holds on to the mother. So it needs to be aware of the movement of the mother and where all it is moving. So the baby clings on to the mother and the mother takes it to where it has to go. So in the path of knowledge, you need to put that effort to hold on to the self, to hold on to the knowledge. Whereas in the kitten, if you see, the mother catches the baby through its neck and then carries it around. That's the path of devotion, where you allow the divine to do everything for you. You say, I'm unable, I've got no strength or abilities to do these things by myself, but I'm ready to surrender. So these are different ways, different attitudes of that. The path of knowledge is very dry without any bhakti in it. The path of devotion can sustain without knowledge because all it needs is the ability to surrender or to let go. But the path of knowledge becomes very dry without any bhakti in it. That's why knowledge that moves through devotion is of a higher quality. That's what Adi Shankara says. The knowledge that moves through devotion, that moves through love, is of a much superior quality. But the path of knowledge is usually one-dimensional. When you accept the path of knowledge, there is no duality. There is no world, so there is no karma, there is no bondage either. That's the Ashtavakras way. Whereas in the path of devotion, all flavors exist. You accept the world, you accept everything with its own limitations. And you express your helplessness within these limitations and seek the divine to pull you out of this samsara. So karma is inbuilt in the path of devotion. Duality is inbuilt in path of devotion. There is this master, disciple, God, devotee. Separateness is there in the path of devotion. But it is easy. All you need is to let go. So, in the path of devotion, all emotions are there. You cry, you laugh, you worry, you become excited. If you look at all the saints, the devotional saints like Meera or Kanakdas or Purandaradas, if you look at all their, or Chaitanya, they all go through a gamut of emotions. But all they do is they impose their worldly emotions onto the divine. They create a world in the divine, or every aspect of their world, they offer it to the divine. Whereas in the path of knowledge, there is no world at all. It is like the difference between quantum physics and classical chemistry. In quantum physics, everything is just waveforms. There are no separate forms at all. Everything is made up of waves, which are made up of atoms. Whereas in classical chemistry, every element is different. So there is diversity. And within this diversity, you surrender to that one principle, one tattva that binds them all together. And that you call it as divine. So this chapter, the chapter 12, is called Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. This is the shortest of the chapters in the Bhagavad Gita. There is nothing much to say here, but it's very beautiful. And it's when the path of devotion comes, the role of a guru becomes very important. Because devotion is nothing but love. Love begins as an attraction. The attraction becomes love, and when that love matures, it becomes devotion. But most of the time, attraction becomes love, but the love gets distorted. Distorted with expectations, with demands, and the same love becomes greed, jealousy, disappointment, hatred. But when you want the love to mature into devotion, you need something to relate to, which is perfection itself. And through that, you can seek the divine. That is why a guru is so important. In the guru or an avatar or an enlightened being, it is the first instance where you can relate to something which you can call the divine. And the guru is very lovable, very likable. No matter where you are in your life, no matter what your preferences, it's almost impossible to hate a guru, to hate an enlightened being, to hate Krishna. Thus, the form here becomes important. The path of devotion, the path of duality depends on form, whereas the path of knowledge is okay without the form. And that is why all these rituals, one of the most beautiful aspects of the rituals is the decoration you make to the deity. You see the formless, eternal, unmanifested divinity in that small deity in front of you. And with your personal contact with the deity, the personal relationship with the deity, you experience the connection with the divine. So here, Arjuna asks Krishna, Krishna, tell me who is better, one who sees you in the form or one who sees you as the eternal formless and worships you there? So Krishna says, it does not matter. What matters is, are you focused on me or not, whether in form or as a presence or as a witness? One who can constantly fix his attention on me, he will attain to me easily. One who focuses on the form as well as the formless will attain to me. But to be able to experience the divinity in the formless is not easy. That path is paved with many tribulations, a lot of confusion, and it's a lot of maturity and steadiness. So, just like I prescribed action for you in the initial stages, I would say you better hold on to your form. Because you can relate to a form, you can love the form, but you can't relate to the formless. It's very difficult to love the formless. You can observe it, you can be with it, but it's difficult to fall in love with it. And the formless is such an obvious part of the existence. Right now you are looking at me, but what you are not aware that not just me, you are also looking at the space that is between you and me. That space is the formless divine, which is obvious yet very subtle. But in the form, you are able to relate. And when you are able to relate, you are able to connect. And that's where devotion comes. So Krishna says, constantly focus your mind on me. Use your intellect to contemplate upon me. Direct your emotions towards me, pleasant or unpleasant. And direct your sensations, offer the sensations to me also. In that way you become a devotee. If you are not able to do this, if you are not able to make me your world, if you are not able to offer everything that you are experiencing as a part of me towards me, then the next best thing you could do is engage in rituals that are directed towards me. These rituals could be an external form, the pujas and the chantings and the rituals which you do. But on another level, it could also be the sadhana. The sadhana that focuses on the self. The meditations, the pranayams which you do, which bring you away from the distracting world and puts you in touch with the self. If you are able to be with the witness all the time, that is great. But if you are not able to do that, use the sadhanas and through that sadhana, come towards me. Yeah, that's what you do in a silence program, isn't it? What do? You sit and just observe. Come back to yourself again and again and again by observing without judging, a choiceless awareness. And if you cannot do this, if you cannot engage in rituals that are directed towards me, says, at least do my work, engage in some service activity. I am everywhere. Whomever you serve is serving me. So engage in some seva. Engage in some service. Spread my word. Get people into the fold. Do this work. What? Engage in my work. And if you cannot do my work, whatever else you are doing, if you say, oh, I'm so busy, I got this thing, whatever you are doing, offer that to me. And whatever comes out of it, offer those results also to me. And by doing so, you disconnect yourself from your actions, the results and the fruit and the impact of the actions. Thus you become free from the act as well as the karma from it. So what? Focus on me. Be with the witness. If you can't do it, engage in rituals which distract you from the world and attract you towards the self. If you can't engage in rituals, do my work. Do some seva. Engage in some seva activities. If you don't have time or can't do seva as well, offer whatever you are doing to me without connecting, attaching yourself to the results of those actions. In that way, you drop the doership as well as the karma that comes with the impact of the action. Shreyo hi gnanam abhyasat, gnanat dhyanam vishishyate, dhyanat karma phalatyagha, tyagat cha shantir anantaram. Better than meaningless rituals, better than rituals which are done without awareness at all. If you see most of the pujas which people do, there is no love in that act. It is just a tick box. And many times our sadhana also becomes like that. It is automatic. You never realize when you move from the first stage to third stage of pranayam. You don't realize when you told the 3 ohms, but everything happens in automatic mode. So Krishna says, better than rituals which have no awareness, start engaging in rituals with awareness. When you do with awareness, the quality of rest you get is much higher. The clarity you get is much better. Shreyo hi gnanam abhyasat. Better than this practice with awareness is knowledge. Knowledge about the existence, about the form and the formless, about the transactional aspect of you and the existential aspect of you, about the changing and the unchanging aspect of yourself, the knowledge of discrimination. Jnana dhyanam vishishyate. Better than knowledge is meditation, is dissolving in the formless, dissolving into the emptiness. Because in that dissolution, all the problems dissolve, all the duality dissolves. Dhyanat karma phalatyaga. Better than meditation is your ability to let go of the fruit of your action. Now, this is very interesting. Krishna here says, so far he always said action is inferior to knowledge and meditation. But here he is saying action that is done with renouncing the fruit of action is higher than meditation itself. When you sit for meditation, an expectation you have itself is an obstacle. An expectation of wanting to relax, an expectation of peace itself indicates there is some passion there. So here he says, when you are ready to drop that desire as well, when you are ready to be dispassionate in what you do, that is much higher than meditation. So are you able to sit and meditate? Are you able to do your sadhana without expecting anything from the sadhana itself? Just being with that process totally. Some days you may feel pleasant, some days it may not feel very deep. It does not matter, because you are not seeking depth or pleasantness or clarity or light or anything. You are just there, totally accepting the moment as it is, without wanting anything, without doing anything, and feeling nothing. To be able to feel that I am nothing, you need to move through this I want nothing and I do nothing. And Krishna is referring to this action. The action which is done by renouncing the fruit of action is higher than meditation. Why? Tyaga cha shantir anantaram. Because that dispassion that arises in you brings you eternal peace. Even this wanting to have a good meditation brings feverishness in you. But it is okay. There is some sensation, there will be some disturbance, some meditations work, some don't work. So what? It does not matter. What I can do is give my 100% into this action, into this sitting with myself at this time, and that is good enough. And this can happen only when the Viveka dawns in you. That what? The only thing that is important is to be with the self. Whatever is needed will come to me in due course. With that faith and with that conviction, when the dispassion is there, that dispassion gives you the unshakable peace, which you are anyway. Ye tu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasya matpara ananyeva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate tesham aham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirat partha maya veshtita chetasam. So he explains the same thing. Ye, ye tu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matpara. When you offer all the actions to me and be totally focused on me, ananyeva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. 100% attention on the self and offering all the actions that happen in the process of life. When somebody is able to do this, Tesha Maham Samudharta Mrityu Samsara Sagarat. I uplift him from this cycle of birth and death, from the ocean of samsara. What is the ocean of samsara? Repetitive, reactive activity is samsara. Isn't it? Look at all the responses or reactions you do in your life. They are triggered by something and you react in the same way again and again and again. Your cravings are for the same things, your aversions are for the same things. The way you respond or react to things are the same. This repetitiveness, which is out of your control, which is without awareness, is samsara. How do you overcome this reactivity? Is when you withdraw and when you observe. And that's what you do in the silence program, isn't it? You sit and observe the sensations, observe the breath, observe the emotions, and then you see, oh, that reactivity drops. Teshamaham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat. He automatically has crossed over this ocean of samsara, the repetitive pattern of living. Bhavami nachirat partha maya veshtita chetasam. He is very quickly, nachirat, very quickly he is able to lift himself from the miseries of life. The misery is when you connect to the external, identify strongly with your body, your mind, or your emotions, or your sensations. When you are able to dissociate from these and just observe them as just events or sensations or feelings that is external to you, then at that moment instantly you are free. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankara samadukka sukakshami. Now he explains how a devotee is. Adveshta, one who hates nothing, one who has got no enmity towards anything or anyone. Maitra karuna evacha, but in that place is replaced with friendliness and compassion. Nirmamo nirahankara. He is not attached to something called me and mine. There is no false identity. Samadukka sukha kshami. He is equanimous in pleasure and pain, and he is ever forgiving. This you do anyway. Whatever you are able to take as yours, you do this anyway. Have you noticed? Look at this own body. You, by your practices, you know that this body is mine. I am not this body. But look at that. There is so much diversity. Your hair is different to your eyes. They are different to your hands, to your nose, your abdomen. But don't you look after all this? Do you not look after your body with love, friendliness, compassion? You keep it clean, you polish it, you dress it up. Why? Because you feel it is all part of me. You don't hate your body. Hatred and discontent comes only with that which you don't consider as yours. When you can take everything, the sense of belongingness, you are able to forgive easily. You are able to accept totally. Adveshta sarva bhutana maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankara samadukka sukakshami. And he says not just looking after without being attached. This is very interesting. This is very important. The moment you develop an attachment and expectation comes with, that's when the love becomes distorted. Are you able to do everything with an attitude of servitude? Are you able to enjoy all that is been provided to you with the attitude of being a trustee rather than an owner? The moment you say, I am owner, this is my body, you want to use it, you want to dominate it. But when you say, I am a trustee, this body is given to me for a particular purpose. It's my responsibility to look after it, to treat it well, to handle it. Similarly, in the world, everything, if you can see that as you are a trustee for everything, then the arrogance will drop, the humility will dawn, and that's the beginning of devotion. Santushta satatam yogi yatatma dhrida nishchayaha maya arpita mano buddhir yo mad bhakta sa me priya. This is what type of devotee he likes. One who is santushta, one who is happy and contented. Always satatam, one who is always happy, contented and balanced, yogi. Yatatma dhrida nishchaya, one who is steadfast and focused, one who can't be shaken, one who can't be ruffled easily, one whose faith is so druda. Mayarpita mano buddhir, one who has offered his mind and intellect towards me. Means what? Any thoughts that come, you think about the divine or offer it to the divine. Anything that comes, any judgment comes, you give it off to the divine. Mano buddhir. So, offering the mind and the intellect, or residing the divine in your mind and intellect, rather than residing your mind and intellect in the divine rather than on the worldly things. Yo mad bhakta sa me priya. That type of devotee is very dear to me. Anapeksha shuchir daksha udasina gatavyata sarvarambha parityagi yo mad bhakta sa me priya. Anapeksha. Anapeksha means one who is free from expectations, free from desires. Every desire is a burden. And the desire is what binds you to the world. And desire, what does it mean? A desire means that what I have right now is not enough. So my joy will be when what I don't have now, I will get it sometime in the future. Are you getting this? Apeksha is wanting something. Anapeksha is I want nothing. All that is there is fine. Anapeksha, shuchir. Shuchir is purity. Purity means sattva. The impurity is nothing but the gunasinas. The rajas and tamas are the impurities. The effort you make to overcome the rajas and the tamas so that you can sustain yourself in sattva is shuchi. That is sadhana. Daksha, skill. What is the skill? You are in the world but not running away from the world. Living in the world and dealing with the world as if you are not in the world. Just like the drop of water on the leaf of a lotus flower. It is there. It has to be there. But it is not stuck to the leaf. It can drop off easily. And this is a skill. That skill is yoga. Being in the world, not being bogged down by the world. That skill, daksha. Udasina gatavyataha. Udasina means dispassionate, not too attached to something. Gatavyataha, that which has passed, being able to let go of the past. Udasina gatavyataha, that which has moved away, being able to let go of it. It's okay. Able to drop that which has passed. Udasina gatavyataha. Sarvarambha parityagi. One who does not want to start anything. Why do you want to start anything in the first place? Because you want to get something out of it. When you don't want to get anything, when you're in a state of I want nothing, you don't have to start anything either. Sarvarambha parityagi. You see, when you start something, you only look at one dimension of it, but you are unable to see the all other dimension that is associated with it. And then you get stuck with something else. You come into the path for some other reason, then you get attracted, you stay there, then you become more involved, you get involved in a seva project or do something, then suddenly something happens there. Somebody does something which makes you unpleasant, you get stuck there. And then the whole thing becomes unpleasant for you. So they say the wise is somebody who does not start anything in the first place. Because when you start something, you need to finish it. But from this process to start and the finish, there are many dimensions, there are many flavors, not everything of which you are aware of. The best thing is being dispassionate and doing things out of intuition and not starting a project or anything and taking it to the end. So you need to be really very aware of what he's saying here. It does not mean don't get into anything, but he's saying if you are wise, you actually will not get into anything to produce a particular effect. Or you will be aware that whatever I'm getting into may produce something which I'm not expecting and I'm okay with it. Sarva Arambha Parityagi Yomad Bhakta Same Priya. Such a devotee is very dear to me. Then he says a few other qualities. What? One who is free from excitement or gain. One who is free from hatred, from desire. One who is able to look beyond the duality, beyond right and wrong, good and bad, craving and aversion. Such a devotee is dear to me. So all these things have been explained. He's telling this in a different way. One who treats friends and enemies equally. Health and disease, pleasure and pain. One who is equanimous with honor and dishonor. Compliment and insult. One is different to cold and heat. Pleasure and pain. One who is established in silence. Why? Silence is that unwavering state of you. That is when you have clarity. One who is contented. One who is not attached to a residence. Aniketa. This is a very beautiful word. What? Aniketa means one who does not consider any place as his residence. You know, what you consider as your residence becomes your comfort zone. So here he says, one who has got no comfort zone or one whose comfort zone is all over. And this residence does not mean just a house. This body could be a residence for you. Your attachment could not be just for this house in which you are living. It could be the body which you reside. It could be the wealth which you are attracted to. It could be the status. It could be the compliments which you get. It could be the respectability. That is why it's called Jangama. Jangama is somebody who is not staying, does not stay in any place for long, because the moment you stay, you become attached to something. So one of the qualities of a sannyasi is being a Jangama. Jangama is one who moves on, letting go of everything and moving on constantly. It is called Aniketa. Because where you reside, that's where you make your life. You know, we have all heard these stories from Chandamama where the king's life is not in the king, but it is in a parrot or a bird which is somewhere beyond 7 seas. There is an island. In the island there is a cave, and the cave is guarded by plenty of serpents, and there are a lot of soldiers. There is fire, dragon, and this hero goes through all this finally to find a bird in a cage, and then he kills the bird and the king dies somewhere else. Yeah. So it's like that. Your life is not in you, but it is in all these things around you. It may be in the house, in the relationships, in the wealth, in the status, all these things. Aniketa is somebody whose life resides in him and not in somewhere outside him. He says, such a devotee of such a steady intellect is dear to me. And then he concludes by saying, a sincere devotee who faithfully follows all this and leads his life in the way I just described, he is the dearest and he will attain to me easily. There ends the 12th chapter. Very short chapter, but very, very deep, very light chapter. Jai Gurudev.